I remember waking up that morning and seeing the headline, "Britain and France strike historic migrant deal." And for a moment, just a brief one, I thought, maybe, just maybe, we're finally turning a corner. After years of chaos in the Channel, of empty promises, failed pledges and millions of taxpayer money wasted, we had something that sounded like a plan. Keir Starmer, standing next to Emmanuel Macron, smiling for the cameras, shaking hands like two men who had finally figured out how to keep the boats from coming. One in, one out, they said. For every illegal migrant returned to France, Britain would take in one legal asylum seeker. Order, justice, balance. Or at least that's how they sold it to us. But the Channel doesn't care about politics. And within hours, the boats came anyway. I watched the footage. One dinghy after another landing in Kent. Children soaked, men exhausted, women crying with relief. And behind the images, hidden in plain sight, was the quiet failure of yet another promise made by yet another Prime Minister who underestimated the size of the storm he was trying to steer through. Because let's be honest, this wasn't a breakthrough. It was a photo op. A handshake and a press release while the tide carried on like it always does. Cold. Relentless. Unforgiving. We were told this deal was different. That the French would finally do their part. That our new leadership in Number 10 had the competence the last lot lacked. But if you look past the headlines and the carefully crafted sound bites, you'll see the same old story playing out. Chaos. Confusion. And a British government once again caught completely off guard by the reality they refused to face. 21,000 migrants have crossed the Channel already this year. That's a 56% increase from last year. Starmer's shiny new deal only allows us to return 50 of them each week. 50. Do the maths. That's 2,600 a year. And we're letting in over 20,000. It's a drop in the sea. Literally. And we're being told to call it a solution? Meanwhile, the French get what they want. Nearly £800 million of our money to supposedly help them patrol their side of the Channel. But what are we getting in return? Dinghies. Silence. And humiliation. And yes, I said humiliation, because that's exactly what it was. Macron didn't even bother to appear with Starmer the day after their big deal. He was busy hosting a NATO ceremony, standing tall in front of European allies while Britain's Prime Minister was nowhere to be seen. A calculated snub. A reminder that post-Brexit Britain doesn't sit at the table anymore, we stand outside, begging for scraps of cooperation and pretending it's diplomacy. The French president wasn't just playing politics. He was playing us. Back home, Nigel Farage wasted no time calling it out. The British taxpayer is being robbed blind, he said on GB News, and honestly, for once, it was hard to argue with him. Even those who can't stand Farage had to admit, the optics were appalling. Starmer signs a deal, and the boats keep coming. Macron cashes the check, and refuses to even stand beside the man who signed it. That's not partnership. That's theatre. And Britain is the punchline. And then there was the video. You've probably seen it by now. A group of migrants landing quietly on a beach in Folkestone as holidaymakers watch in stunned silence. No resistance. No enforcement. Just quiet surrender. One local man offered a bottle of water. A woman wrapped a shivering boy in a towel. And behind the camera, someone mutters, "So much for the deal." It's not just a failure of policy. It's a failure of pride. We are a sovereign nation. Or at least we used to be. Now we can't even control who arrives on our shores. And let's talk about the numbers again, because this is where it gets absurd. 50 returns a week. That's the centerpiece of this landmark deal. But there are weeks when over 1,000 people cross. In one recent surge, 1,200 people made it in a span of just 3 days. That's 24 times what the agreement allows us to send back. And when officials from Border Force are speaking anonymously to the press, saying they're embarrassed and overwhelmed, you know it's worse than they're letting on. And it's not just about the crossings. The camps in Calais are growing again, populated by smugglers and victims alike. Armed gangs run the show. French police look the other way. Trafficking rings flourish in plain sight. And Britain? Britain just writes another check. Labour promised change. They promised order. But here we are, right back where we started. And if anything, it's worse now. Because at least when the Tories made a mess of things, we expected it. Now we have a government that sold itself on competence, and within weeks, it's already fumbling the basics. And while Starmer insists this deal is only the beginning, voices from his own party are starting to push back. Sawa Sultana, Nadia Whitcomb, even union leaders. Some say the policy is inhumane. Others say it's ineffective. But the message is the same, the cracks are already showing, and Labour hasn't even finished its first month in power. Meanwhile, across the Channel, Macron is pushing even harder. Leaked memos from Brussels suggest France is trying to bring the UK back into the old Dublin regulation. That would mean other European countries could start sending migrants back to Britain again. It's Brexit in reverse. And Starmer hasn't said a word. Because maybe, just maybe, this is the plan. Quiet alignment. Gradual integration. No referendums, no debates, just policies signed in soft ink while no one's watching. If it looks like Brexit is being undone piece by piece, maybe it is. And all the while, the boats keep coming. I don't say this out of anger. I say it out of heartbreak. Because we deserve better than this. We were promised control. We were promised leadership. We were promised a government that knew how to run a country. What we got is more boats, more bureaucracy, and more excuses. And I'm tired of it. A country like ours should not be at the mercy of smugglers. Our borders should not be porous. Our prime ministers should not be disrespected on the world stage. And our people should not be fed lies about deals that do nothing but buy time until the next disaster. This isn't about left or right. It's about truth. And the truth is, this deal failed before it even began. So I'll ask you, as a fellow Brit, do you still believe in this plan? Do you think Keir Starmer has what it takes to fix this crisis? Or has he already lost control? Let me know what you think in the comments. Because your voice still matters, even when it feels like no one in Westminster is listening. And if you want more honest, unfiltered analysis from a British voice that calls it like it is, subscribe now. Hit that like button. Share this video. Because the fight for our borders, our sovereignty, and our dignity isn't over. But it starts with telling the truth. And the truth is, the boats are still coming. And Britain? Britain is still waiting.